Hey guys, Miss Pastorius here. I'm here for another project, and this one is pretty fun, I think. And if you had brothers or sisters who are in third grade now and had second grade last year, you might have heard them talking about this project, or you might have seen them create this project. So we're going to do it again for you guys. All right, so what I'm going to use for this project, for this start of the project, is I have this black piece of construction paper. And then I'm going to use colored pencils on this black piece of construction paper. And then later, I'm going to use white paper and some markers or colored pencils. And I'm going to use scissors and a glue stick. So those are the things that I need for this project, or that you need, rather. So I'm going to start by making some bubbles on this piece of paper that I have in front of me. So I'm looking for light colored pencils, white ones or gray ones or light blue ones. Those will all work for this project. And I'll give you some, like a little tutorial on how I'm going to draw these bubbles. So I've got this light blue colored pencil right here. And I'm just drawing circles on my paper. I'm doing them in different sizes. Just some bubbles all over the paper. You can do bubbles in various colors if you want. You can make them cross over. I like doing that, because bubbles do that. Just a bunch of big old bubbles, or small bubbles. And these will show up really nicely with a light colored pencil. Like a white colored pencil would probably work excellently if you have one of those at home. So then I'm going to do some little shading on my bubbles to make them look realistic. So I've got my white colored pencil here. I wasn't using it because it isn't very sharp. I'll sharpen it now. Okay, so bubbles that have reflections tend to have like a little square on the inside that's a reflection of a window or something like that, but it's curved towards the outside of the bubble. Here, I'll show you. Or a triangle. I said square. It's a curved triangle that's inside my bubble. And I can do another one if I want. That's a square. But to make these bubbles look a little bit more real, I want to draw some shadows, or not, these aren't shadows. These are reflections. I want to draw some, sorry guys, I want to draw some reflections in my bubbles. So I'm doing that. And while I do that, I'm going to explain something else. So if you ever blow bubbles or see soap bubbles, you'll notice that they have a lot of different colors in them. They're almost like rainbows. And I'd like to create that effect too with my bubbles. And I feel like I can because I have a lot of colored pencils right here. Construction paper crayons will also work great for this. Regular crayons will work, not quite as well, but they'll still work. And of course, oil pastels will work really nicely. So just do with what you have. And I always like to put a little bit of pink and yellow and green in my bubbles. And I like to do that around the edges mostly. You don't have to do a lot, and we're not really doing any specific shape, but throwing in a couple more colors in there, it'll give that kind of rainbow effect that you get a lot of times with bubbles. So you can put in blue. I'm looking for kind of a teal color that I think will look nice. You can throw some teal in there. That's another one that needs a little bit of sharpening. Certain gel pens will also do this. Of course, when you're doing this project, you're using whatever you have around to create it. Ooh, sorry. Pencil, I broke you. So, I'm shading those in a little bit. And you can add as much or as little detail as you like. It's not really a thing where you have to put in a lot of color. I think it looks pretty cool when you do, but of course, that's your judgment to make. So I might make a quick time lapse of myself sort of putting these colors in. So there we have it. Nothing more than a couple of just lines drawn, just a little bit of shading at the edges of our bubbles, and it'll make them look pretty nice and sciency and rainbowy, which I love. So we've got our background now for this project. We're going to move on to the next section. All right, my friends. So I finished the background that we made on this black construction paper. So we need something to put on that black construction paper, obviously, if we are going to move forward with our project. So what we actually will be putting on the front of, or on top of our construction paper are beakers, like the type that you might see a mad scientist use. And I am actually using scrap paper for drawing my beakers because I'm going to later cut them out, obviously, and put them on this paper. And there are a couple of different kinds of beakers that you can make. Now, as usual, I am going to use a permanent marker to start. And I would recommend that you do not do this. I would recommend that you draw this in pencil first. I am drawing this in marker first, so you can see it very clearly. And that's pretty much always the case with this, if I draw in a marker like this. So I'm going to use the edge of my paper to draw a sort of rectangular, I guess, container to hold different spooky, sciencey chemicals, things like that. It's pretty tall. I made this one pretty tall because the last one that I actually drew I felt like was kind of small. So I made this one a little bit bigger, and that'll look nice on my paper. We can see the sort of how big it'll be on my paper. And so I think I'm going to put liquid, obviously, in this container. So right now with my Sharpie, I'm just going to draw some, measuring lines on the side of this beaker because that's what you see a lot with different beakers. So I'm bringing that closer. It's a pretty simple shape that I've just drawn. And I like having that edge there because I know it'll be nice and flat once I glue it down. So I'm going to a different edge and I'm going to draw another. So the next one I think I'm going to draw is that classic beaker shape where you've got a sort of rounded edge triangle at the bottom of the paper, or at the bottom of the beaker, and then you have a thinner sort of rectangular shape that's a cylinder, obviously. And then I'm gonna have my little lip that comes out here. So if you want to divide this into shapes yourself, you could say, I make a triangle right here. You could even draw a triangle
right there, because of course you're going to cut it out. You can make adjustments. It's a triangle, and then I've got a sort of smaller rectangle on top. And this is coming really close to this container, but it doesn't cross over. I'm going to cut it all out, so it should be good. And I'm going to do some little dashes on that one too. So we can have little measuring symbols.
All right, so that's one that I have. The last one that I think I'm gonna do is one of those tall cylinders that you have to have in a holder of some kind.
And the holder can be pretty basic. I'm gonna first draw, well, I guess I'll draw a sort of rectangle first for holding it up. So, you know, I am no scientist. Definitely not a mad scientist. I don't really know how these holders look, but I'm going to assume that they probably look something like this. I made this out of four different little thin rectangles, and then with a curved edge from the bottom, because the reason this is in a holder is because it's got
A curved edge at the bottom, so it can't really stand up on its own.
I'm going to have a sort of graduated cylinder here. I think that's what you call it. Maybe this is a little small because I made my holder a little small, a little bit smaller than the rest of my items.
Yeah, it's a little guy. So if I wanted, I could make more of these too.
Like, for example, I feel like I could have one of these cylinders that did have a base. Like, let's turn this around so I have another. Like I said, I like having that flat edge. You know, we could have a cylinder that is a little bit taller and has a little bottom portion that helps hold it up. You can use a ruler when you're drawing these lines. You don't have to. I like when lines have a little bit of character, so I don't always use a ruler when I'm drawing these lines. But you can, because of course my lines are not perfectly straight. So I'll have to decide if I want to use this one, because I feel like this one doesn't look as good as some of the other ones I drew, but we will see.
Yeah, we'll see if that one makes it in. I'm going to take some time actually to just get some markers and color in the different cylinders that I just drew, different containers. So I can have them ready to cut out and put on my surface. And I think I'm going to use bright colors like green and purple and things like that, so it'll look very sciencey, creepy and fun. So I'm going to do a time lapse of that, and Hey guys, I am back. Feeling pretty good about this cute little drawing that we did, or project, not only a drawing but also cutting out. So here's what I'm going to say, because there were a couple of things that I did during this time lapse that you may or may have not seen. So one thing that I did was I took a ruler and I took that white colored pencil again, and I put a line across the bottom because I found that all the beakers I made are a little bit small, and I didn't like having so much space up at the top of my paper. So I moved these beakers up a little bit they're not at the edge of the paper, they're a little bit higher. So I'm sort of imagining to myself that they're sitting on like a glass table or something like that. I didn't cut out this inside part from my little cylinder holder, and I just colored it black with my black marker, and I think it looks pretty nice. So these are covering these different bubbles. So I was almost thinking of drawing over this and having the bubble present. You can do that, or you can choose not to do that. I probably won't do that. Don't want to make it too complicated, and I already feel like this looks pretty cute. So I'm pleased. I will let you know if I change my mind. Don't want to make it too complicated. But yeah, I've got all my beakers here. These are the ways you do 3 different beakers. I cut out the smaller beaker, but ended up not having enough space. So it all worked out really well. And I do think this project's really cute. So I hope you enjoy doing it. And I hope yours comes out nicely. And I really, really can't wait to see them. So thanks for watching. And I will see you guys soon.